Welcome. It's another beautiful day and I've got my coffee, so let's watch some stuff.
Most people won't believe this. Bob Lazar emerged in the late 1980s, claiming to have worked at a secret site near Area 51 where UFOs were stored and studied. He said the UFOs were powered by an unknown element he called Element 115, which allows warping of space-time. This element has since been synthesized but doesn't exhibit such exotic properties. Among documents Lazar saw was one titled EBE, which he assumed stood for Extraterrestrial Biological Entity. It contained biological information on alien life forms. The document apparently described how these beings helped proto-humans evolve, with sections titled Genetics and Mutations and Religion. Lazar claims the document heavily implied that modern religions are based partially on humans' ancient interaction with aliens who shaped our development. However, there is no independent verification of Lazar's claims. His credibility has been debated due to contradictions in his statements over time. If such documents did exist, their corroboration of religious accounts could dramatically reshape human origins narratives. But without more evidence, Lazar's specific assertions linking aliens to religion remain highly controversial and unproven.
I don't think exposing aliens would detriment any kind of religion because the religion could simply be like, oh, well, that's who our God is. They created us. So it makes sense. So it wouldn't necessarily lay the religions to waste. It would just give them their deity. I think that anyway. Thank you so much for joining me in this corner of my room / office / studio today. I really appreciate you being here. If you're having a good time, I'd hope you'd hit that subscribe button and come back tomorrow because I'm making a new video every day.
America used to make fun of countries with a gerontocracy. What is a gerontocracy? Well, it's a state, society, or group governed by old people. The Soviet Union had this problem in its final years and it led to its collapse. And America was laughing at the time because all their politicians kept dying. We were laughing and now the call is coming from inside our own house. Not only do these politicians have a general disconnect with the whole population, and even a disconnect with their own population given that they want to cancel Social Security, we can't keep moving forward like this. Our politicians need to reflect the age of our population.
After a quick consult with my Google machines, it says the average American age in 2019, so this is a little outdated, is 38.1 years. And I think that's probably a good place to start looking at our politicians. Maybe, like I said yesterday, in the 40s, in the 50s, up to 60, mid 60 maybe, and then they start losing touch with what's going on because there's that whole generational gap. And it's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
We're disciplined and we're executing on it. It is my vision to take the next step to this, to go to the faith-based locales, and then move to private residents. There are residents who are suffering right now because of economic challenges. They have spare rooms, they have locales, and if we can find a way to get over the 30-day rule and other rules that government has in its place, we can take that $4.2 billion, 4.3 even maybe now, that we potentially would have to spend, and we could put it back in the pockets of everyday New Yorkers, everyday houses of worship, instead of putting it in the pockets of corporations. And some of those corporations come from outside our city.
Okay, there was a little confusion there because the subtitles said House of Russia, but he definitely said houses of worship because that's where he wants to move before he starts invading other people's homes with these illegal immigrants. First, he wants to put them in the house of the Lord. Churches. All the churches need to house these people. And then once there's no more room for the people in the churches, they're coming to your house. Why? Because we can't make people follow the laws, apparently.
Conspiracy theories around Taylor Swift rigging the Super Bowl are swirling. Let me explain. It seems to have started earlier in January with Fox News talking head Jesse Waters floating the idea that the pop star is a government psyop on his show.
Well, around 4 years ago, the Pentagon's Psychological Operations Unit floated turning Taylor Swift into an asset during a NATO meeting.
He then played a clip from this 2019 International Conference on Cyber Conflict to back up his claim.
So I include Taylor Swift in here because she's a fairly influential online person. I don't know if you've heard of her.
However, the woman in the clip shown indeed does not work for the Pentagon, as Fox's Waters said. She was a researcher at Johns Hopkins at the time and was giving a presentation about how influential people can combat misinformation online. Days after he made the allegation, a Pentagon spokesperson denied the claim, using Taylor Swift lyrics to respond saying, quote, "As for this conspiracy, we're going to shake it off." Swift endorsed Biden in 2020 and urged her followers to register to vote. This is also being used by many online to inform their conspiracy theories about Taylor Swift. They see her relationship with Kansas City Chiefs star Travis Kelce and the media focus on their relationship as reason to believe she's being used as a psyop to rig the Super Bowl and influence Americans to vote for Joe Biden this November. Then this past Monday, former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy wrote on X, quote, "I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl next month. And I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially culturally propped up couple this fall."
So back in 2022, it was all about Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck being back together. And then in 2023, it was all about the Will Smith and the Jada Pinkett Smith drama, all kinds of drama that's going on with them. And now this year in 2024, it's all about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Who cares? Next year, it's going to be someone else and their partner, and why we have to pick them apart into a million pieces. But this one's juicy. This is what I heard, and I haven't been able to find it. If you can find information on this, send me a link. I'd love to know. I heard that in the very last minute, Joe Biden was going to drop out of the running, and then Michelle Obama is going to come up and take the place, and then all Taylor Swift has to do is be like, "Oh, I endorse Michelle Obama," and boom, she's in the office. How scary would that be? That's terrifying.
In June 1994, a strange sight caught the attention of a filmmaker on a farm in rural Texas. He witnessed a silver sphere descending from the sky, and as it touched the ground, it released two smaller spheres that began to silently fly over the surrounding vegetation. The filmmaker, who was recording the beautiful scenery at the time, was taken aback by what he saw. The silver sphere, which was about the size of a small car, remained stationary as the two smaller spheres flitted around it. As the filmmaker continued to capture footage, the silver sphere suddenly shot upwards at an incredible speed and disappeared into the sky, leaving the smaller spheres behind. The smaller spheres then followed suit, disappearing from view as well. The filmmaker was stunned by what he had witnessed and quickly reported his sighting to local authorities. But despite several investigations, no explanation was ever found for the strange object he had captured on film. At first, he thought it was some kind of weather balloon or drone. But as he zoomed in with his camera, he realized that the object was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was completely silent, and its movements were too erratic to be controlled by a human pilot. The spheres continued to fly around the larger UFO that was near the ground, behind a tree. Some spheres were flying slower, while others were at high speed. What do you think the filmmaker recorded? Leave a comment.
I believe that those are surveillance drones. Alien surveillance drones. Because I'm a big fan of the aliens. I totally think they're here. I totally think they've been visiting us for a long time. I think they've got their hand in our evolution. I totally do. And I believe that there are some that are absolutely scary as hell. Totally. I've never seen one of the silver orbs, but my husband and my son both have at the same time. And I believe them wholeheartedly. My son is the kind of person that he just doesn't lie. He doesn't. He's a good kid. And my husband, I trust him completely. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. They're drones. They're alien drones.
Good morning, bad news! The United States is a failing gerontocracy where nearly everyone holding political power is in their 70s and 80s and simply too old to effectively govern, while actively creating political, economic, and social crises designed to benefit only them and their generation, which as a direct result has accumulated more wealth and fewer people than ever before in world history. More than 50% of the US population is under 40, but represent less than 5% of Congress. And it's not because young people don't vote, it's because most politicians are elderly millionaires funded by elderly billionaires whose only goal is to create an opulent socialist utopia for the the elderly funded entirely by an underpaid and exploited workforce of young people. In fact, if you're over 65, you are guaranteed free universal healthcare and a universal basic income, which are paid for through extremely high taxes on those who are under 65 and virtually zero taxes on the insane capital gains that are held almost exclusively by older generations. America's elderly power brokers have spent their lives consolidating political and economic power while exploiting every penny they can get their hands on from Gen Z, Millennial, and Gen X populations who either live in abject poverty or are 2 paychecks away from it, and it's destroying the country. Gerontocracies aren't new and often precede the collapse of massive empires, from ancient Greece to the Soviet Union, and the United States is already next on the list.
I almost didn't leave the second gerontocracy video in there, but I'm glad I did because that one explained way better than I would ever have been able to, other than saying they're too old. We need younger people in there, but that is exactly what it is. Millionaires funded by billionaires to keep them in there, to keep them billionaires. And it's absolutely absurd.
Now, maybe you've heard of earthing or grounding, and you've wondered if it's just a bunch of bunk science or a bunch of voodoo that hippies do in the mountains. But actually, there's a lot of very valid scientific proof that earthing and grounding, contacting Mother Earth, is very, very good for our physiology. So what does contacting the surface of the Earth, what does coming in contact with the magnetic field of the Earth do for our physiology? Well, we've all heard of something called pH, right? The acid alkaline scale. You may have heard that disease does not thrive in an alkaline environment. This is very true. But the pH range of the blood is very, very narrow. It's maybe 4 or 5/10 of a point, right? As you get lower on the pH scale, you become more acidic. As you become higher on the pH scale, you become more alkaline. So in other words, pH is a charge. So if I want to change the electrical charge in the body, then I apply a current, a low Gauss current, a magnetic current about the same strength as the surface of the Earth. So what's an optimal amount of time to spend contacting the surface of the Earth? Well, the ion exchange happens instantly. In fact, it's so quick that we can barely even measure it. It's in nanoseconds. We instantly discharge when we contact the surface of the Earth. So as little as 3 to 5 minutes of barefoot contact to the surface of the Earth will actually change the polarity and the pH of your cells and your bloodstream.
I'll be perfectly honest here. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to the science in my brain. But just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean that it's not true. And just because some fancy scientist says it also doesn't mean that it is true. So I decided I'm going to try. For 7 days, I'm going to ground every day for at least 5 minutes a day. Go outside, sit in the front yard or in the backyard, in the porch, or whatever. Not on the porch because there's concrete. So I'm going to sit in the front yard or the backyard and put my feet in the ground and see what happens. We're going to conduct an experiment.
This is the best breakdown that I've ever heard about time being an illusion.
Some of y'all not gonna get this no matter what. Some of y'all gonna get it. But alright, first I'm gonna show you how time is an illusion, right? So really, if you think about it, what is time? So when we say time, what are we measuring? We really measuring the distance of the sun going around in a circle. So that's the first thing. So when we measuring time, when 12 p.m. hit at nighttime, we say that one day ended and another day started. And this day end, day start is still based on the movement of the sun, because this is when the sun is basically at the bottom, away from us at midnight to 12. And then at 6, that's when it's rising. Then at the other 6, that's when it's set. The 12 to 12 to 6 to 6. It's all based on the sun. And this is how we get our time. So time is based on the sun. So now, understanding that, if we looking at time, if it's at it's 11:59, and you looking at your clock like, all right, the day about to end. Boom, it hit 12 o'clock. Did the day really end? No. Did anything end? No. So there's no really such thing as no from one day to the next day. That's an illusion within the mind. Us just following the sun. And then to even go deeper into that, right? Right now we say that it's 2022. So if you go back 2022 years to 0, that's not the beginning of civilization. That's not the beginning of time. So who started this over? Egyptian days, all that philosophy, Greek philosophy days, Pythagoras, that's before the 0 point. So how time start over? So what the is, so it's not 2020, it's all an illusion in the mind. You can't deny that time is fake. I'm gonna even go deeper into showing you how time is fake, right? So when we talk about the past, there's really no such thing as the past. What the is the past? So right now, me talking, this is gonna be the past. But look what is happening right now in the present. So all the things we call a past is just our memory of the present moment. There's really no past. Because if you don't remember the present moment, you won't have no past. So you take away memory, there's no past. Past is just the fun memory, showing you that it's something mental. So so what the hell is the future? So tomorrow is the future, right? But when tomorrow comes, when will it happen? It's gonna happen in the present moment. You're not gonna experience tomorrow. You're gonna experience it now. So we know that the future is just us projecting our consciousness into ahead of us. But when we get there, it happens in the present, right? So you know that there's no such thing as no past. There's no such thing as no future. They both happen in the present moment. We can't deny that. So you be like, oh, that means it's only a present moment. And I say, no, present moment don't even exist. Because the minute you become aware of the present moment, it's gone. It don't stay still long enough for you to even experience it. This is the present moment. Boom, now it's gone. You're like, damn, that's the past now. So then with the next present moment, you look towards the future. It's no present moment. So that right there show you that time is a illusion. But it's an illusion that we basically all agree with it within the mind, and that's what allows it to be real.
I never really looked at it as an illusion. I like the way that he explained how the past and the present and the future are all actually the present. And once you do experience the present, it's no longer the present, it is now the past. And the past is just memories of presents that we experienced. But time is definitely a human construct. It's something that we absolutely 100% made up. And it's just the only law that everybody follows is time. And it's very precious. It's very precious. You can't get any of it back once you forget what's in the present, and it's in the past. There's nothing you can do about it, right? And speaking of present, I really appreciate your presence. Lame, I know. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I do really appreciate it, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, and here's my cutting room floor. 3, 2, 1. I don't have my coffee. 2023, it was Will Smith and Jada, and when was it? It's just somebody we want to pick and put in the spotlight and break apart into a million pieces because, we all love the drama, don't we? After they win the Super Bowl, her fan base is going to grow. It's going to get even bigger. Big deal, right? I totally believe that those are like alien surveillance drones. I know. I can't disagree with the alien theories. I love them. I love aliens. I believe they're here. Didn't want to leave a second gerontocracy. We're gonna start over. Gerontocracy. I didn't want to leave a second gerontocracy video in there. That doesn't make sense in the science of my brain. I don't know how. How is that? And I don't remember what he just said. But then I was going to say, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that. But then again, maybe I should. And sometimes when I look over here, my eyes look like they're crossed. And then I look over there and I can see my eyes looking back and forth. Because I don't know which one to look at. I look at myself. And it looks like I'm looking up here. I should look outside. You want to look outside? It's the outside. That's where I'm not. Somebody else's backyard. Peeping Tom. Stop looking at other people's backyards. You need to look here. Here. Oh, I've been looking in the wrong spot the whole time. Sorry. So, kudos to that person for hooking me up with some solid words.